Have you ever tried to build a new habit, but then found yourself slacking off because... Me too, bestie, me too. But what if I told you that I have finally found a way to stick to habits by actually using those same excuses? Here's how. So, building new habits. Let's acknowledge that it's hard work because building new habits feels unnatural to us. It takes an active effort to stick to new habits, and our bodies and minds aren't really programmed to make effort. We're programmed to take the easy way out. And that's why we end up using excuses. But if we keep making up excuses, we won't be able to achieve the things that we're meant to achieve, which would be a huge waste of potential, right? So today I want to introduce to you what I call the plan your excuses ahead approach, or with a much cuter and easier to remember name that I made up for this video, the P approach. So in this P approach context, excuses is basically conditions that, when applied, excuses you from skipping out on what you were originally planning to do. The most common example would be to not go for that run if you have a fever, which I hope you're already doing. The process is simple. You decide on a set of acceptable excuses for each of the habits you're trying to build. And as long as none of them apply, you go through with what you were supposed to do. So you can't make up excuses on the spot just because you don't feel like it. This is an approach not to help us slack off, but to help us get things done. For the P approach to work, we need to schedule our habits ahead, preferably on a weekly basis. So for example, on Tuesday, I'm going to the gym. On Thursday, I'm doing journaling, etc., etc. And this is to not fall into the I'll do it tomorrow trap. So having a set schedule is what will hold us accountable to do what we are supposed to do as long as our excuses don't apply. Now, you might wonder, if the goal is to get stuff done, then why not go with the no excuses at all approach instead? Because in life, stuff happens, and making ourselves go through with something no matter what will just make us miserable. Like, if I force myself to go out on a run in pouring rain, I'm not gonna go, "Ooh, that was such a nice run," afterwards. Like, I'm gonna end up wet and grumpy. We're not building habits to become grumpy. We're doing it to become a better version of ourselves. And we sure shouldn't have to feel guilty about not going through with these stuff that we know will make us unhappy, right? So having a few excuses is a way to build and stick to habits in a way that feels good. However, if we just make up any excuse, we won't ever get anything done. So there are 3 things to keep in mind when you're planning your excuses. First is to make them customized. Now, pouring rain might be a good excuse not to go for a run, but if you're trying to build a habit out of reading, you obviously can't use rain as your excuse now. Instead, an excuse for not reading might be if you're on a trip with family or friends and you want to focus on socializing instead. I mean, that's fine. Remember, we're not building habits to become miserable, right? If you're away for 3 days, you can spend the rest of those 362 days of the year to work on that habit. I promise you it's okay. So make sure to set up excuses that are customized to each of the habits that you're trying to build. Second is to make them specific. Just as we easily find ourselves trying to come up with excuses not to do something, having unspecific excuses can allow us to kind of reach, like use excuses that shouldn't actually apply. For example, if instead of pouring rain, you use the excuse bad weather, to not go for that run, you might find yourself overanalyzing the weather just because you're not feeling up for it. There's a few gray clouds in the sky today. I'm not gonna go for that run. Believe me, you can still go on that run. For me, when I was younger, I would use the excuse not feeling 100% well as an excuse to not exercise. This led me to overanalyzing my own health every time I didn't feel like it, which was pretty often. So I would go like, maybe my throat is a little bit itchy. Let's face it, young Selma, this is not a valid excuse. This is just a lame attempt to justify not going to the gym. Nowadays, I have defined the symptoms I need to have to skip out on working out. So having a body temperature of above 37.5 degrees, having an actual sore throat, not just itchy throat, etc., etc. So keep those excuses very specific so that you won't overuse them. The third and final rule is to make them rare. This goes without saying, but if you, for example, live in a country where it rains more often than not, like Sweden, where I'm from, using rain as an excuse not to go for a run might not be ideal, at least during the most rainy seasons, such as autumn. Because in Sweden, you'd probably end up using that excuse more often than you would actually go for that run. You can still obviously set a goal of running on non-rainy days, but it's gonna be hard to make it into an actual habit because, a habit is supposed to be a regular thing. So in this case, you would probably want to rethink either the habit itself or the excuse. So maybe the excuse won't be just simply rain, but heavy rain. Or if it rains, you will run on the treadmill instead. Or if you don't like the treadmill, you will redefine the habit as aerobic exercise and do some other inside exercises instead. One mistake I personally did when I was trying to build a habit of reading before falling asleep was to use the excuse, if I'm sleepy, I can skip out on reading. Girl, you're reading at 11 p.m. You are gonna be sleepy. So only set excuses that you will use sparingly. And note that you don't have to make excuses in your head for every possible scenario that can happen. You don't have to think, okay, what if an earthquake were to happen? Would I still go on that run? If such things happen, you're gonna have bigger problems to worry about. So you don't have to make them too rare. Let's keep it everyday level. So these are the 3 things to keep in mind when planning your excuses. Now, there is one excuse that I want you to stay away from at all costs, and that is the being too tired excuse. If you're a student, or you have a full-time job, or you're just a member of modern society, chances are you'll be tired sometimes in the evenings and sometimes on weekends as well. But using that tiredness as an excuse to skip out on your habits is gonna create an evil circle. Because if you use that tiredness as an excuse not to exercise or get the nutrients you need, that will just make you more tired and make you skip out on the habit more and more often. So please just try to stay away from that one. I know it's hard, but it's gonna pay off. Now, the good news is that the P approach can help us relieve a little bit of that tiredness by helping us with decision fatigue. You know those mental gymnastics we used to do to come up with an excuse for the day? Gone. No more weighing pros against cons, no more overanalyzing your health to find an excuse not to go to the gym. No! You've already decided on the acceptable excuses. And if they don't apply, we go through with it, right? This is the approach that has finally allowed me to stick to some of the habits that I've been trying to build for years. So I really hope that it helps you in building the habits you want as well. Please let me know how it goes in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.